marriage. When I say personal experience, I mean personal in terms of what I've experienced and also what I have learned through other people. And of course, with the working and the dealing that I have with people. And then onward through my own journey, spiritual journey, I have learned what marriage is. Rather, what I will share is based on what I've learned about what marriage is or what marriage isn't. So, first of all, I come from a background where I wasn't really taught what marriage was. As a person who, as a teen or as a child that was born in the 70s, then was in her youth or teens in the 80s, experienced life through marriage early in the 90s. So you get to experience, and then now, fast forward many years later, I can say I have been able to learn. First of all, it was by fluke. It wasn't really intentional because personally, nobody sat me down at the time that I was going into marriage to know what marriage was. But in essence, to a certain extent, I learned what marriage isn't by what I experienced in my life. Now, I came from a polygamous background. My father was polygamous, and by virtue of the fact that he was polygamous, I experienced firsthand what marriage wasn't from the standpoint of polygamy. And then on the other end, I also experienced what marriage is from my grandmother and my grandfather, my maternal grandmother and my maternal grandfather, my maternal grandparents, who my grandfather was a man that worked early in the railway. He was a clerk in the railway when they were building the East African Railway. And my grandmother was a young lady who started serving God early through the Church of God, and she was dynamic in what she epitomized marriage was. So for the few times that I had to engage with them, I saw from their relationship, even without necessarily being told, I saw my grandfather was a provider. I saw my grandfather who gave counsel. I saw my grandfather who protected his wife, honored his wife, did the best that he could by his wife to the best of his ability. I saw companionship with them. I saw intimacy with them, and not necessarily intimacy in terms of it being sexual, but that close, very close connectedness between them as two individuals that had come together. I saw what marriage was from the standpoint of marriage was honoring of one another, respecting one another, loving one another, defending one another, providing one another. My grandfather provided the means. He was able to take care of my grandmother and her children, even when they kept on moving from one place to another. So I saw from their example what marriage was, and it worked. For them, it worked. I never saw my grandfather become physically abusive or emotionally abusive. No, he was a man that spoke whatever it is that he would speak, but within respect. And I saw what a wife was. I saw it through my grandmother, who as much as she was a minister, would be home, understood the needs that her husband had, was able to take care of his needs and to rise up to the occasion of being a homemaker, of being a companion, of being a friend, of being the mother of his children, of being his wife, of being also a pillar of support to him in terms of providing counsel, but in a very subtle and dignified, respectful manner that made me realize that indeed marriage can be beautiful. Now that's one aspect of marriage that I saw modeled. The traditional way that was grounded on Christian principles, that saw a man rise up to the occasion of being the one that is the head of the family, the one that provides, the one that protects, the one that gives counsel, not only to his wife, not only to his children, but even to us as grandchildren. So he was a pillar in society, and not only just in the nuclear or extended family, but even in his community. I saw just how crucial the unit, when it was at play and in its element at home, how it was able to have a very needed or a very necessary impact in the larger community. And that I appreciate. I would say my grandfather give us counsel. Counsel when it comes to marriage. I would say my grandmother give us counsel when it comes to conflict in marriages, resolution and all that, how it is that a woman should handle herself, how it is. So I saw that through my grandmother. Now, on the other end, what I saw modeled between my own mother and my father, who were slightly, of course, who are quote unquote more advanced, more modernized, more exposed when it comes to life, wasn't near beautiful. If anything, they had a bad relationship. My father was abusive. My father was polygamous. He had not just one wife, two wives, three wives. My father had so many children. As much as many years later I came to learn or to appreciate his love language. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's Bishop. You got disconnected. I can hear you. You can continue.
Are we recording?
Yes.
So I came to understand that what marriage isn't, and what really helped me to define the kind of marriage I would want or the kind of marriage I wouldn't want because of what I saw modeled in my life. So what is marriage to me? And then now I'll start from that standpoint. Welcome back, Bishop. So as I was saying, I got to realize from my grandmother and my grandfather, who had a beautiful relationship, as and up to the time, from the time I was young in the 70s to the 80s, to the 90s, I saw my father, I saw my grandfather model what marriage, and my grandmother model what marriage was. And even when my grandfather, first of all, passed on, I realized that what marriage was through my grandmother, who gave lots of counsel to many of us. So I learned what marriage was, and I also learned what marriage isn't and what I wouldn't like because of my own experience. So when you think about marriage, what can I say about marriage? One, marriage is the coming together of two individuals. These are two individuals who have come from their own, you bring in who you are, the element of who you are, the element of what you are, everything that you are when it comes to where you have come from, how your upbringing, your experiences when it comes to, or the exposure when it comes to what marriage is, and of course, what your desires are. You bring that in the fullness of who you are as an individual, and then you come and bring it into this, and to form this new entity or this new relationship that you are having or building with somebody else. So these are two different individuals who are coming from different backgrounds that have seriously and significantly influenced or contributed to who they are, and what their understanding of marriage is. And then once you know who you are, or you realize who you are, what your expectations are, what your experiences have been concerning marriage, now the two of you come together. So the coming together is of two individuals, ideally, it should be consenting, where people look at each other and they make a conscious decision. Some people are forced into marriage. I'm not going to say that, but I will, for the purposes of this discussion and for the purpose of what you are saying concerning your journey now, it is a decision, an intention that is set of two people that might not necessarily be the same, or might necessarily be different, but they have one expectation of coming together to fuse that which they are, their hopes, their experiences, their desires, their vision of what a marriage is, and then they come together. Now, coming together can be relative. Of course, being Christian, you know that we were taught that there has to be that formal procedure that is done where people come in, and then the introduction of everyone and all that, everything that entails what a marriage is, to form that aspect of it being recognized. But culturally, we've also come from a place where initially where people would not necessarily have to go through to get a marriage certificate, but for as long as somebody would come, initially there was the coming together. We imagine that after the parents have already, or the families have already been informed of the intention, and people come together, families come together, there are witnesses that are there together, then there's that which is done. Now, culturally, different people do different things to be able to indicate what marriage is, for as long as now there's that which is done officially to show that these two individuals have committed to one another, and they are people who can bear witness of the same. Yeah. So that is where I have come from when you think of background. Now, when you're moving fast forward to what I have understood is marriage from the Christian perspective, this is the coming together of a male and a female with an objective to fulfill their God-given mandate, which is to do what? To be able to bring forth a godly generation, to bring forth a godly seed, to be able to bring forth a deeper expression of what divinity is where marriage is concerned. And it's a partnership between two individuals, with God being the supreme partner of all. But most significantly, a place where people come together and fuse their vision or their goals in marriage with an understanding that one has their responsibilities, they have that which is expected of them as, for example, a husband, as a wife, and then they come together to build a unit, a family unit that is meant to be of value to those that will come forth. Now, whether it's in the form of the children, or even if it's in the form of the community, because then we become part of a network. The family begins in the home, and then when the family is together, the husband and the wife, then you have the nuclear family, and then when you have this unit that is wholesome and is in its functional state, it significantly contributes to community. And in this community, it is community in terms of whether it's the church, the religious institution, or the religious community, or the other one that is the social community in terms of the community in general, and then of course the nation at large. So it all begins in the place of marriage, what goes on between you as an individual, who you are as an individual. If you've been a person that has come and is a fully functional individual, your expectation, you have your own expectation, you have your own vision of what your marriage should be like. So if you get to know this individual that you are marrying, if you align your vision and your goals, and you see that then you people are compatible, then now people take it forward in terms of saying that yes, now they want to get married. That's just for me to be able to say in short what marriage is. Somebody can add on.
Thank you Thank you very much, Sister Sheila. That was a very nice one. And what I will, my opinion or my perspective about what marriage is. Marriage is, for me as Sabin, marriage is an agreement. It is an institution, and an institution can be of anything. When two companies come together, they have married one another. When two organizations come together, they have married one another. When we go deeper, to follow on this aspect of marriage from a deeper sense, we will come to you realize
It's a
that
kind of undifferentiated perfection, and then that was split into male and female, and then
Can you hear me? Sheila, are you hearing me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
We can hear you.
But there was a little interference.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Now I was saying that if we just follow this thing deeply, we will come to realize that, and actually the truth of the matter is that the original man, who was Adam, wasn't just like a man, like a separate man who after that there was created a woman called Eve for him.
his heritage, they're both their heritage.
And so this is what happened. Adam was that form of a hermaphroditic, the form of a hermaphroditic being who was both male and female. And then he was split into two, where this one hermaphroditic being was split into male and female. That was another root race. The original root race was hermaphroditic. Then it was split into male and female. And so, what is the role now? In order to re-establish back, because after it was split, there was that kind of some undifferentiated indifferentiated perfection. And so man is here to unite that which was split, to make it one, to become one as to the perfection it was as before. This is from my spiritual perspective, that because man was one and then he was split into two, to male and female, then we are here to bring the reunion and reunite that to be as the singular entity it was as in the beginning. That was my spiritual perspective. And actually there is one practice there is one practice which is of the Swedish. This is what they do during their weddings. The husband, the bride and the bridegroom, they take a candle, they light it, and then they hold it between them, raise it up high. I think it's their own ancient practice. And this is what this practice means, by the way. Why did they have to hold the candle between them, the man and the bride and the bridegroom? What is the candle first? Itself. Here, the candle, this candle itself is what the source of light is, the source of illumination, the right source. It is that source of enlightenment. That candle they hold, the husband and wife, is the source of illumination, the source of enlightenment. This is what that ancient practice means. And even if we check it even to the current practices, Like this practice of Christmas, where we light lights on the Christmas tree, and we sometimes even light candles. It has taken that part of the light being the top, like that first light on top of that Christmas tree. That light that emerges in the darkness, in the depth of winter. Christmas is winter. That light that emerges in the darkness of the depth of the winter. The symbol which is the symbol of life in darkness. So that candle which this husband and wife light and hold, it symbolizes light, illumination, and enlightenment. So when two people come together, when you come together, hold that light, that candle up. Let us ask ourselves, why is that candle up there? They are holding it, it's lighted, and they have held it up. The answer is very simple. First, even before we ask for that answer there up, where the light is, let us ask ourselves a question of which is down here, the us who are holding that candle up. Let us ask ourselves this question. Number one, who is, when we marry, two people come together and decide to marry and get together, who is in charge of the marriage?
It's what's good for the marriage. Combine.
Who is in charge of the marriage? This is one of the questions which is even making our marriages not work for the highest good. Number one, I said marriage is an agreement, and there is something different. There is a big difference between marriage and divine union. The reasons why our marriages are not working is because they are not divine unions. Divine unions can come even without being presided by a pastor, a sheikh, an imam, or any other religious leader, because it is bringing that unity, the union which was before man was made male and female. When that, now we ask ourselves, who is in charge here? This marriage, the candle is up. Down here, who is in charge of the marriage? Let me tell you, this is what it is. The light. Top there, that candle which you have held, that light which you have held, that light, that is the idea of why you two people have come together. There is no one who is above any other one in a marriage. Let me tell you, they told you submit. They taught you control your wife, be in charge of this and that, because they wanted to split you, not to bring the divine union, which is actually the real purpose of humanity being here, bringing together into one agreement and accord of the feminine and the masculine part. Who is in charge of the marriage? Marriage is not about you two people. Marriage is for the glory of that which you have held up, that candle, that light, that which represents illumination, which represents light. That is the idea. You are no longer two things, but one thing, that which is up there. It is not what is good for you, and is not what's good for your wife. It is about that divine unionship, which we are supposed to bring it into one accord and agreement. The reason why our marriages are not working is because they have been taken into a wrong path. Marriage is not about who submitting to who.
Do when you get married. That's easy.
It's not about who and who. It's not about your wife. It's not about the husband. Last time I was saying that true love expects nothing in return. When you are marrying another person, you expect nothing in return. That is the true love of God. That is the pure love of God. The pure essence of love of God expects nothing in return because everything is itself. It expects nothing because it lacks nothing. For you to submit, you have to be lacking something. And you to control, you have to be lacking something. But when you lack nothing, you expect nothing. All marriages which you see are working is because both parties, between the husband and the wife, both parties, they expect nothing in return. Without, maybe unconsciously, they are expecting nothing in return out of that marriage. That's why it works. Because this is a universe of polarity. Wherever you expect something, it will come with its opposite. So, no one is in charge of the marriage between the husband and the wife. The grander truth, this one, even if people take it or not, it is what it is. The grander truth is that in a marriage, husband and wife, no one is above anyone. The one who is in charge is that candle which they have held between their hands, raising it up there. That is spiritual, what the deepest part of the meaning of divine union. It's not about marriage. Marriage, you can marry anything, even dogs. Trust me on this. We marry companies, organizations, and everything. We can marry even dogs. Let me tell you one thing. It is about divine unionship. This divine unionship, it can come there, even without being officiated by who and who, even without anyone blessing it. Because when two come together in one accord, it becomes one. It does not need anyone to put a signature. It's not about physicality, people. It's about that which you cannot see and yet present. That is my deepest aspect of definition of marriage. And I have another last definition of marriage. This is that my layman language of marriage. Because marriage is not a bed of roses. It is now where you know you don't know. Everything becomes new. Out of that, I came up with this definition of marriage. Marriage is just an act of where you take someone who is just useless and horrible as yourself, and then you shackle yourself to them, then tell them, I'm not running away. Then you agree that, okay, we have shackled ourselves. We are all useless. We are not running away, no matter what happens. Because that is going to be that when you come to that agreement, it becomes perfect. Because no one gets to run away. Because one thing in life is that if you can run away, if you can just run away, if you can be able to run away at every present moment, you cannot tell each other the truth. If you can run away, if we have the capability to run away every time, we'll never be able to tell one another the grander truth. So you look for your own useless, of your own pair, same quality of uselessness, chained together, and then you agree. We are not running away. We are here. No matter what happens, we are here. Because, and one grander truth is that,
Sorry, I'm back. Sorry, I went off.
when, welcome back. When, Mr. Bishop, I was saying this, I was giving another aspect of my casual definition of marriage. That my other one is just bringing. The other one was previous spiritual one was bringing the divine aspects, because Adam was one man and he was split into two. Now, us here is to bring that unionship, that one unity again into one. And I was also saying that there is a Swedish wedding practice where the husband and wife, they hold a lighted candle on top, and they say it represents the light, enlightenment. So one question, who is in charge of the marriage? And then we say, definitely the one in charge of the marriage, the one who is above any other one in the two, is none of them. The one who is in charge of the marriage is that candle or light which they have held up there. So marriages, these are divine unions. These are divine unions. Marriages are the ones which you are being told want to submit to one another. But divine unionship, the one in charge, all the glory. Marriage is not about the other person. It's not the husband, what the husband can provide, or what the wife can. It's not about expecting something from your husband, not expecting something from your wife. Divine unionship, true divine marriage is about the glory of God, bringing that divine unionship of the feminine and the masculine. And I came to my casual definition of what marriage is, and I said it's this, because marriage is something also in the physical realms. It is something also very crazy, not a bed of roses. Now I say that I define it is just looking for someone who is just as useless as yourself. Then you agree to come together, you shackle yourself with big chains, and you agree that you are not going to run away. Big chains with big padlocks. You agree you are not going to run away, because the grander truth is that if you tell anyone in this world, if you tell anyone in this world of the truth, of your darkest truth, if you tell anyone your darkest truth, if they are there listening to you, they are not listening to you. If you tell anyone your darkest truth and they are still standing there, they are not listening to you. This one you have to know. So you chain yourself, then agree that no matter what, no opening the padlocks, no one is running away from anyone. And then now you start telling one another the darkest of our truths. We tell one another all who we are. They now know who we are. My husband is like this and that. My wife is like this and that. And he is like this. I didn't know he was like this and that. You cannot run away. This is my third definition of what marriage is. Yes. Any comment? Any comment?
I think I would like to add on to, rather, I would like to say this, that in this day and in this season that we are in, when you think about us guys going back to the place of consciousness and understanding who we are in God, or who we are in divine consciousness or divine intelligence and all that, when we get to walk in understanding of what we are an expression of divinity, we are an expression of what God is. So ideally for me, when I look at marriage, it is an opportunity for you to be able to give an expression of that which you are through the relationship that you are coming into, or through this union that you're coming into. Now, when I know who I am, when I know what I am, when I know where it is that I am, or where it is that I'm of, or what it is that I'm made of, coming together with my husband or with this other individual who also knows and understands who he is, what he is, and we appreciate the fact that when our coming together, it's an opportunity to have an expression or to manifest that which we are by being of value to each other, then that brings into fore a totally different understanding of what marriage is, or what it is that I know is my responsibility in being part of this union. Because I think if we are not careful, as much as we are saying there are no expectations, of course there is that which is on you as an individual when it comes to you exhibiting or you expressing that which you are. Now the problem or the challenges come when we are in marriages, or when we are getting into these entities or these relationships or this organization or this institution that we're calling our marriage, when we are already dysfunctional, when we fail to know who we are, or when we fail to know what we are, and by virtue of that, then as we come to exhibit or as we come to manifest what it is that we are, then we have challenges. That's one. So it is important for us to be having that kind of a mindset, to know that there are many people who, by the way, I see today getting married who really have no business getting married. That's something I have to say. And it is good for us to be on the clear about, because when you look at this individual, they have no idea who they are. They have no understanding of what they are. They have no clue whatsoever. They cannot be able to exhibit or manifest what they are. And they come into marriage or into this institution already limited or flawed, so to speak, for lack of a better word. Now, when you come into this institution in that form or in that state, then there are bound to be challenges. Now, when we know and we understand and we realize that we have been called to peace, some of this, when you're thinking of some of the instances that people are having, when there's really no responsibility, first and foremost, my expectation is not even to my husband. My first expectation is to myself. Am I, as Sheila, being the best that I can be? Am I, as Sheila, doing the best that I can do in terms of being all that I am created to be? Am I living out to the fullest of who I am and what I am? Because if already where I'm at, there is that demand that I place on myself to grow, to develop, to become an authentic, a better version of myself, a much more authentic version of myself. Am I living out according to my purpose, according to that which I am created for? Because then you can tell when you are living or when you're dysfunctional. You can tell when you are dysfunctional or when you're out of sync of who you are and what you are. So I see many people, even when it comes to the sessions that I have with people, I see people who don't know who they are. They are coming into marriage with an expectation that the man or the woman is going to do X, Y, Z. We have men that are marrying because women can take care of them. We have women that are marrying because men can take care of them. And already from the onset, this is flawed. Now, when you look at some of these institutions or this relationship with them, or these marriages, you realize that there is always that the misalignment. They're not aligned. There's a lot of dis-ease. There's a lot of discomfort. There's a lot of imbalance. There's a lot of they're not synchronized. Yeah, they're not aligned with one another. And when you look at it like that, even in what you're saying, Salim, that you have to bind each other or chain yourself to one another, I think to a certain extent, if you're not careful, then you end up not living your purpose, not living in your fullness. So I also tell people that people need to look at it and really take a deeper understanding, even for those that are in marriage, that are you in sync? Are you aligned? Are you not aligned? And if push comes to shove, having done all that you need to do, or having done all that you could have done, and it's still not working, and even as much as you're helping, and then you realize that you're not evenly yoked, you're not aligned, you're not in sync, you're not, there's just all this dysfunctionality. I tell people then it's about time you normalize stepping out of to the point that you yourself, you lose the essence of who you are, you lose your authenticity, you lose your vitality, you lose, we saw the other gospel singer who died the other day. You're in an abusive relationship, but because this person is abusive and you have these beliefs, then you are believing that no, till death do you part and all that, but already the dysfunction exists. They expect when you're looking at what it is that has come, the outcome out of this this particular situation is not positive, it's not of value to you, then it's important for us to be able to look at it and take a serious overview and say, look, I think this isn't working for me. So even when it comes to the issues of